Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Heather Roy, and I have the privilege of chairing this intergroup meeting this morning. And we're once again very happy to continue these intergroup meetings through Social Economy Europe and with the European Parliament Intergroup. And we are sure that today will be another highly useful and productive meeting. If you don't mind, I'd like to start with some housekeeping. I know that we are now all very used to using Zoom, but it's still helpful just to remind ourselves of a few things. First of all, please can you ensure that you are on mute unless you are one of the speakers at that moment. There is interpretation for this event. You will find interpretation available in English, Italian and Spanish. And to choose the language that you wish to listen through, please click on the globe icon in the Zoom toolbar to choose your language. If you do not see that globe, it may be that you don't have the most up-to-date version of Zoom installed for you to be able to access the interpretation. But I am guessing that by now, we all have the most up-to-date versions of Zoom as we're using it so often. We have many speakers this morning, very many important and interesting speakers. However, I just would like to remind speakers that you have been given a time limit for your interventions. And if you start to go over that time, you will start to get messages in the chat that will increase in frequency the longer you go over time. So please bear that in mind. This event comes at a very important moment when digitalisation and skills are high on the European agenda. Europe needs to be fit for a digital age, and its people, no people, must be left behind. And Europe will only be fit for the digital age if its people are fit for the digital age. And so working to look at how to ensure people are included, that we look at how to ensure that gaps in digital skills are filled, means that upskilling and reskilling approaches are of paramount importance. The social economy sector is once again ahead of the game. Many social enterprises and other social economy actors are already providing training, education, apprenticeships, ensuring that no one is left behind in this fast and inevitable digital transition. You will hear today from samples of those many organisations who are already engaged in digital transition and supporting people to be equipped for digital transition, as well as from members of the European Parliament and the Commissioner for Employment and Social Affairs. And together we will share the challenges and opportunities we face, as well as the policy instruments that are needed to address them. So let us start and hear from our first speaker, and it's my pleasure to introduce Patrizia Toia, who is one of the members of the European Parliament who co-chairs the Social Economy Intergroup. And so, Ms. Toia, I'm delighted to hand the floor to you.
Thank you so much. Dear colleagues, dear and the participants, good morning to everybody and welcome to this event of the Social Economy Intergroup and the Social Economy Europe that will be discussing the economy's capacity to accelerate a fair digital transition. I am glad to have a huge remote attendance, and as interpretation is provided, I will now switch to my mother tongue. As explained by the you can use the language by clicking on interpretation in the menu available under the 3 dots. Thank you. Molto bene, grazie a tutti i partecipanti. Ripeto, per chi ci ascolta in italiano, che si può cercare la traduzione in alto cliccando dove ci sono i 3 puntini, i 3 dots, e lì troverete nel menu anche la possibilità dell'interpretazione e anche la scelta tra le varie lingue. Sono molto lieta, come dicevo, di questo incontro, fa parte di questo cammino che da un lato l'intergruppo dentro al Parlamento europeo e dall'altro Social Economy, che ringrazio molto per questo supporto e questa spinta, lavoro che stanno facendo per accompagnare in questo momento veramente topico, cruciale, la possibilità che il mondo dell'economia sociale, nel quale tutti noi crediamo, possa davvero fare un grande passo avanti. E noi sappiamo di poter contare moltissimo anche sul commissario Schmit, che ancora una volta ringrazio per il suo intenso lavoro che noi sopporteremo sempre in Parlamento. Perché è importante parlare del tema di oggi e ci aspettiamo dai protagonisti alcuni suggerimenti? Perché l'economia europea sta facendo un grande passo avanti proprio sotto la spinta della Commissione, del Parlamento, delle scelte che sono state fatte dal Consiglio a luglio scorso con Next Generation EU per cambiare le nostre economie, rimetterle in piedi dopo la pandemia, ma rimetterle in piedi con una visione diversa, puntando sulla digitalizzazione, sul verde e sull'inclusione sociale. E qui c'è un grande spazio per il mondo dell'economia sociale, se saprà cogliere anche qui questa trasformazione digitale e le sue opportunità. C'è un grande spazio che forse non è ancora del tutto riconosciuto e io penso che un lavoro dovremo fare tutti insieme per far sì che nei Recovery and Resilience Plan che i vari Stati membri presenteranno alla Commissione per essere finanziati, per ottenere le risorse, in questi piani ci sia una visione che riconosce all'economia sociale un ruolo fondamentale. Non è un'economia marginale, non è ancillare, non è qualcosa di minoritario, è parte della nuova economia che l'Europa vuole rilanciare. L'economia sociale ha già anticipato molti contenuti, quello dell'inclusione sociale per esempio, quello del riequilibrio territoriale. Ora deve essere capace di anticipare anche i segni della trasformazione verde e digitale, lavorando dunque sulla digitalizzazione e sulla formazione del capitale. Tutta l'economia si sta interrogando su questi due punti. Come accompagnare la transizione digitale cogliendone le opportunità in termini di contenuti di lavoro, di servizi nuovi che si possono offrire, in termini di modelli organizzativi di impresa e in termini anche di crescita della qualità e della formazione del personale. E io penso che il mondo dell'economia sociale può lavorare molto su questi tre elementi. Può lavorare sui contenuti, perché per esempio nel Digital Governance Act, che è uno dei tre grandi provvedimenti della nuova, diciamo, azione del decennio digitale dell'Europa, in questo atto si parla di intermediari per la gestione dei dati. E perché non lanciare dunque le cooperative che hanno già molti dati dei loro lavoratori, dei loro business, lanciarle anche in questo ruolo di nuovi intermediari proprio per la gestione dei dati personali. E vedete, quindi ci sono campi nuovi di lavoro. Ci sono modelli di business, l'innovazione c'è già molto nelle imprese sociali, il loro modello è già più partecipato, è già più umanizzato, vorrei dire, dà ai lavoratori uno spazio maggiore che nell'impresa tradizionale. E allora questi modelli vanno anche messi a tema, vanno sostenuti, vanno proposti al resto del mondo dell'economia. E sulla formazione forse c'è molto di più da fare, perché occorrono anche risorse. E allora noi vogliamo che in tutti gli atti europei e nazionali che attueranno il patto per la qualificazione del personale ci sia un ruolo per il mondo dei soggetti dell'economia sociale. Quindi questi sono i tre campi, secondo me, su cui dobbiamo lavorare e su cui dobbiamo chiedere, e qui io prendo impegno con i miei colleghi per la parte del Parlamento, come certo sta facendo il commissario per la Commissione, prendo impegno che in ogni atto che noi faremo, in questa nuova revisione, diciamo, di tutti i nostri strumenti, ci sia uno spazio adeguato per i soggetti dell'economia sociale. C'è il problema della definizione, ma io penso che possiamo attestarci su una definizione condivisa di fatto, oltre che giuridicamente, e poi c'è un grande problema finanziario di come adattare gli strumenti, investimenti, crediti, grant che noi stiamo facendo alle caratteristiche dell'economia sociale. Quindi abbiamo molto da lavorare, dobbiamo cogliere le opportunità di questo anno che è fondamentale e penso che dovremo agire all'interno del Parlamento, verso i nostri Stati membri, insieme con tutto il mondo dell'economia sociale, per far capire che è giunto davvero il momento di togliere, diciamo, da una condizione più laterale rispetto al mondo dell'economia tradizionale, per togliere questo mondo e metterlo proprio al centro della ricostruzione che con i Recovery and Resilience Plan tutti gli Stati membri stanno facendo. Penso che alcuni paesi si sono già mossi in questo senso, altri hanno bisogno di una spinta e forse noi, soggetti europei, attenti a questi aspetti, potremmo fare qualche azione, scrivere ai governi, farci sentire per dire, insomma, è il momento per cui se vogliamo davvero cambiare il paradigma economico dobbiamo cogliere tutto l'apporto innovativo e inclusivo, e questo è l'aspetto molto importante, che il mondo dell'economia sociale può dare e portare a beneficio di tutti i cittadini, non solo dei lavoratori di questo settore, non solo dei destinatari, degli utenti, diciamo, di coloro che godono dei servizi che il mondo sociale offre, ma anche, io penso, di un senso più elevato della cittadinanza. Cosa vuol dire essere cittadini? Cosa vuol dire esprimere il civismo? Vuol dire anche cogliere questi valori della solidarietà, dell'inclusione e metterli dentro nel mondo dell'economia, nel mondo, diciamo, che genera profitto, ma che non vuole dimenticare quegli altri valori. Attendo con molta attenzione, con molto interesse i suggerimenti, le indicazioni, le richieste che verranno dai protagonisti di questo mondo. Grazie.
Thank you very much, Ms. Toya. And I think that a couple of things you said there were particularly important for our discussions today. Putting the concepts of and the need for support for social economy at the heart and rather than on the sidelines of our visions for the future of Europe, and also being quite specific and looking at how the recovery and resilience plans that are coming forth from member states could be identifying social economy as part of that recovery, as well as the digitalisation question, but also the broader question. And I think that that's something we will continue to discuss this morning. I then turn to our other co-chair who is with us this morning. I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Sven Giegold, who is also a member of the European Parliament, and he will now take the floor. Thank you.
So thanks, Heather. First, before I start, I have to report back that we had yesterday a very large digital church service where we called for donations for the refugee fund of Diaconia. So I have to politely report this back. So ask your German member what they think of it. So that was an inside joke, but now so also this is digitalization. You don't get 2,000 people in most churches, and now this is possible. So I'm not sure whether this is the digital agenda our friend Nicolas Schmit is after, but that's at least what I find also exciting. Look, when we talk about the social economy and the digital agenda, I think there are a whole number of important issues, and some are perhaps a bit surprising. Of course, it's very straightforward to say social economy enterprises have a role to play when it comes to education, when it comes to getting people up to speed of the digital agenda, opening the route to the digital world for everyone. But I think we could be even more self-confident when we speak about that issue, because actually the cooperative economy and the social economy was also always particularly strong if economic rents could be administered in an alternative way. What is famous is, of course, the important part of the cooperative economy in banking and in housing, because there, basically, a private actor controls something which is nothing else than an unearned rent. So when you have an attractive piece of land in the city of Luxembourg of Nicolas Schmit, you can become very wealthy just because everybody else is getting more successful. So a cooperative owning this house can ensure the access for everybody. In the digital world, there are also economic rents. When you are controlling certain ideas like the knowledge of an algorithm, or if you were the first to open a platform, you are controlling a rent and you get incredibly wealthy. So the owners who created this common space were becoming very wealthy because everybody is forced to use this common infrastructure. This is why it's good that Europe is now saying we will put more control and supervision. But as over these, unfortunately, all these proposals are quite careful. But that is not for us to discuss here. But what we as the lobby for the social economy should say is the social economy can make important and does make important contributions. I give you some examples. When you want to have trust in a professional server, you rather run it on Linux and not on proprietary software, because cybersecurity is based on the fact that you can control the algorithm. This is better if it's open knowledge and everybody can control what is behind a certain algorithm, while keeping the algorithm private and intransparent is the principle of the traditional mainstream economy. The cooperative approach is to fight for open software, to fight for open access and transparency. So therefore, public markets should be used much more in order to buy open software, which is not based on proprietary systems, and therefore also a safer background. Second example, which we use every day, is of course Wikipedia. Wikipedia is nothing else than a social enterprise. It is an incredibly successful social enterprise. People are contributing to it. It has outcompeted all the traditional forms of encyclopedias because of its cooperative business model. Beyond that, we have the fascinating distributed ledger technology, which is the technological backbone of Bitcoin. I'm not a great fan of today's Bitcoin models because it is used a lot for money laundering and for illegal trades. But the technology behind it, the distributed ledger technology, is truly fascinating because it allows many people based on a ledger to cooperate in order to provide a public good. And what I want to say is the principles of the social economy to put the use value first, to put the user first, to put those who work first and not the earning of profit, it could build a very interesting alliance with these new technologies. And there are already top examples. And therefore, when we speak about a digital agenda and the social economy, we should really favor open technology, open software. We should favor more cybersecurity because it's not based on some limited companies. We should ensure fair market rules by all platform operators. I think we can use modern technology in order to allow new forms of cooperative economics, which we have already seen in its infants, and Europe could do more to support this. And therefore, I invite this debate to take a self-confident role of cooperative economics and the social and solidarity economy with a view to the possibilities of digitalization of the economy. So far, and I'm looking forward to this interesting exchange here.
Thank you very much for that insightful approach. And I think that being more confident about the social economy sector as part of a better regulated, better focused society is something that has been quite widespread in the discussions that Social Economy Europe has had. I think that also looking at this idea about the increasing digitalisation and how that works within social economy brings the opportunity for social economy to be part of the democratisation of digitalisation, and that there is a two-way win there for how social economy can contribute to that wider need to democratise the digital landscape that we are currently faced with. So thank you very much for those very, very pertinent points that we now need to bring together. Not that I'm expecting Commissioner Schmit to bring all of this together, but it is my pleasure now to turn to Commissioner Schmit, because it's always a pleasure to have you among us at these public hearings of the Social Economy Intergroup. And we're very much aware that the European Commission is paying increasing attention to the importance of skills and mobilising resources for upskilling and reskilling to tackle the challenges associated with the transformations in the world of work and with the questions around green and digital transitions. Last year, the Skills Agenda stressed the importance of the social economy to increase the appeal and interest of entrepreneurship. And the recently approved Recovery and Resilience Facility, as has already been mentioned, also pays great attention to investments in such transitions in the skills and the social economy. And as I said earlier on, the social economy has often been ahead of its game and has proven to be a pioneer in creating green jobs, for example, in the circular economy, renewable energies, housing, as has already been mentioned, in industry, and providing consistent alternatives to precarious work in the caring economy, as well as with working with the platform economy and the emergence of cooperatives economies and platforms owned by workers and users all over the EU, as well as, of course, offering job opportunities for people at risk of exclusion and long-term unemployment. So I suppose if I was to ask you one question, Commissioner Schmit, it would be, given all this background that we have and actions that we have, what are your insights on the potential of social economy models in these domains? Could you potentially share more with us about the plans of the European Commission under the Pact for Skills that will support the upskilling of social economy workers and entrepreneurs? And also, knowing that there will be a social economy action plan to be presented in the fourth quarter of this year, is there anything you would like to share for us on the preparations of that plan? So I hand the floor to you.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. So it's a great pleasure to be with you. And I listened with great attention to Patricia's and Sven's introduction. Very interesting, very rich and very challenging presentations and introductions. And I agree that we are in a big change, a big transformation of our economies. Technology has an enormous impact. We have seen that due to the pandemic, a lot of evolutions which were already there have been extremely accelerated, and that indeed the digital transformation now is impacting a lot of areas in our economy, the business models, but also in the society at large. And it is clear that what the subject, the topic you have chosen is what is the role, what can be done, and also what will be the impact by these transformations, technological changes on social economy. And first, I would say this Commission is very committed to develop and to support the social economy, what Sven has called the cooperative economics. I like this word. So this is the first point, and I think this is stressed by the fact that we will have an action plan by the end of the year. And second, when this Commission, and especially also Commissioner Breton, selected a certain number, I think about 12 ecosystems, to deal with them and how these ecosystems fit into the development, the economic development in Europe, one of the ecosystems is also social economy, social enterprises. So this underlines already the importance we give to this sector, not just because in a certain number of countries, this sector is extremely important in terms of employment, but also because I think everybody is aware that we need the input, we need a strong social sector, precisely because we are in a transition and there are a lot of demands also, which can be perhaps better guaranteed by social enterprises, by this cooperative economics than by other forms. So on now the digitalization, a few words. So I listened to what Sven said on different forms, on different opportunities. And I personally are also convinced that here we should give social economy the means and the tools and the resources to be part of this new digital economy, because that would also contribute to transform this digital economy. We are now talking a lot about platforms, and we are talking very much about the not always very good conditions, working conditions of these platforms. And I think there might be something, and it already exists, but here I think there is probably there are new opportunities for social enterprises, for social economy, to use the form of platforms, to create a new model of platform, much more based on cooperative economics, integrating the digital dimension, but using this also for social purposes. So we see the big, mainly American platforms. Well, I think there is a place for new kinds of platforms based on cooperative economics. And this means that we have to scale up social economy. We have to give social economy the resources. And when we are talking about resources, it means in the digital sphere, not only the technology, because the technology more or less is there and available for everybody, but we have to give especially also to the social economy the skills, the skilled people, to make social economy attractive for people in the digital sphere to further develop new kinds of business models in the social economy based on digital technology. So that's my first remark. My second one is, why do we need social economy also in the digital context? Because the digital evolution is not an evolution based on equality. We have enormous digital divides. We have certainly enormous digital needs in terms of skilling, because if now, and we have seen it through the pandemic and through the crisis, digitalization is going very fast at all levels. We see also that a lot of people are not following this trend. And so we have to invest a lot in training, in skilling, in upskilling, especially in the digital sphere. Now, big companies are doing that for themselves, sometimes with the support of public money. Smaller and medium-sized companies have difficulties, but they have to be supported. I think this is also an important thing. And I see it in a broader way, because it's not just about the economy, it's about society. And our society is digitalizing. And especially this divide is hurting a lot of areas in our society where people are not following the digital trend. And there is a form of exclusion here, or risk of exclusion. The first exclusion is age. Well, there are a lot of people who are not able, because of age, they are not following the digital trend, and they risk to be excluded. When we are talking about e-health, Everybody is talking about e-health. Not everybody is able to join in e-health. So there's a need here to democratize, to open digital training, to bring it to the people. It's not rocket science. It's basic digital skills. But basic digital skills help us precisely to overcome this digital divide. And here I think social enterprise, social services, social organizations, we had a discussion before this, so have an important role to play to overcome this digital divide. And at the same time, it's an enormous opportunity to develop all kinds of activities in that area. I remember when I was in a previous life, some NGOs and social enterprises, they created a lot of places where people could learn to handle digital devices. So I think this is not, this is something we still need when we are talking about e-health, when we are talking about rural areas, when we are talking about a general equal access to basic digital skills. And I think here, for the moment at least, and for the forthcoming years, social enterprises can play an important role. And my third point is joining what Patrizia and Sven have said. Yes, we need to strengthen social economy in the overall economy, and we need to offer social enterprises or the cooperative economics as an equal model of making business, of making a different kind of business, which is not just based on profit. I use the formula that anyway, I believe that the Friedman model of the enterprise is coming to an end, hopefully. But that's a positive evolution if it happens, because you cannot just have these enormous transitions, these enormous challenges, and the pandemic is a challenge just based on profit maximization. We will not be able to handle the green transition just based on companies looking at their stock market evolution. So, but aside of that, I think that the social economy can be a pioneer in a new kind of economy which integrates fully the technological changes on one hand, and also precisely the enormous challenge of green transition. And this will be, because you asked me, elements of our action plan. And I agree with when Patrizia said, yes, social economy should not be considered as a sideline economy. It should be a full partner, and even, as I said, a pioneer in some areas. But this means that we have to help social enterprises to fully integrate technological change, because I think what is driving us now, and this applies also to, by the way, to the green transition, that's the technological capacities. And that means also more investment in precisely technology, but also and mainly investment in skills, in people, in their capacities. And I think talking about resilience, because this is the word everybody likes to use now, here precisely social economy could be an actor of resilience in our society and in our economy, because we see it already now. Social economy resists normally well to crisis. They are flexible, and they have not this fundamental constraint of high profitability. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schmit. And once again, we're always encouraged by your very, very strong and passionate support for the social economy, and indeed our new term of the day, cooperative economics. I think that this desire to see social economy as part of the wider economy and not on the sidelines is something that we all share. And this is particularly important, as you said, as the potential of social economy to break down many of the barriers that people face when it comes to digital inclusion has already been proved and can be broadened. And I think that the overall message that I sort of take from what you've just said is that we cannot have the kind of society that we want to have a society that's focused on social and economic justice, where there is just transition for all peoples without investment in the social economy. And we sincerely hope that as the Recovery and Resilience Facility is used by member states, as the new EU funds such as the ESF Plus, Invest EU are starting to be implemented, and with the forthcoming action plans, both for the pillar of social rights and for the social economy, that will be major steps towards reinforcing those particular aims. I think there's a lot of support for that here in this event with the 300 and so participants we have today. But of course, we have to continue to work and put pressure and influence also in our own spheres at national, local and regional level for that to happen. And so I'd like to turn now to Juan Antonio Pedreño, who is the president of Social Economy Europe and a social economy entrepreneur. And we are quite keen to hear from you, Mr. Pedreño, on how you as president of Social Economy Europe, but also as a social economy entrepreneur that's created to the creation of various cooperative schools, high schools and training centres. What do you see? What are your insights about the added value of the social economy to improve the skills of workers and entrepreneurs, to make them ready and able to be part of this transition that we are experiencing, as well as how you see the added value that Commissioner Schmit referred to of social economy enterprises to ensure a fair and digital transition. So let me pass the floor to you, Juan Antonio.
Muchas gracias, Heather. Bueno, sobre todo es un placer compartir una audiencia y más con autoridades como las que nos han precedido en el uso de la palabra. Efectivamente, yo soy un presidente de Social Economy, pero también soy cooperativista. Desde hace 40 años he fundado, inicié en una cooperativa de formación profesional y he contribuido a la creación de más de una decena de colegios e institutos en el ámbito educativo. Presido una organización territorial con más de 150 cooperativas de educación que básicamente nos hemos distinguido en todo este tiempo precisamente en eso, en trasladarle a un alumnado de más de 45.000 alumnos ese valor añadido diferencial que tiene aprender en una cooperativa de enseñanza, aprender en un centro educativo, en un colegio cooperativo de enseñanza. Hemos intentado trasladar a estos alumnos desde hace 40 años el mensaje de los valores, del carácter diferencial, de la gobernanza democrática, de los principios cooperativos y de la economía social. Y estoy seguro que eso ha contribuido para que la región de Murcia sea en este momento la primera región de España en creación de empresas cooperativas, en creación de empresas de economía social, como señala reiteradamente el Consejo Económico y Social. Y en este sentido yo creo que esa traslación ha sido importante. Nos hemos preocupado desde el ámbito docente de realizar congresos de innovación educativa donde han participado miles de personas en este sentido. Entendemos que hay que trasladar valores del trabajo en equipo, ilusión, empatía. Están cambiando muchísimo los valores en este sentido y estamos asistiendo a cambios tecnológicos, a cambios importantísimos en el modelo educativo. En definitiva, quiero decir que la educación es una de mis pasiones y que coincido con Nelson Mandela cuando decía que la educación es el arma más poderosa que puedes usar para cambiar el mundo. Y en esto yo creo que coincide también con la economía social, que se quiere convertir en una entidad transformadora del ámbito socioeconómico. Además, la Comisión Europea ahora mismo está poniendo el acento precisamente en la formación preuniversitaria, especialmente por el tema de la no presencialidad y la necesidad de potenciar las competencias digitales de las personas y de los docentes. Y en este sentido, además, sobre este valor añadido, yo creo que la economía social especialmente, que tiene el acento puesto en la importancia de educar desde la escuela hasta la universidad, una formación continua, una formación de posgrado, de formación profesional también. Es importante formarnos en todos los ámbitos. Y además recordar también que las personas que forman parte de la economía social son socios y trabajadores, además de sus propias empresas, lo que al final los convierte en esos emprendedores que tienen que conocer la diversidad de la forma de empresa, que tienen que tomar decisiones día a día en la gestión de la empresa cooperativa. Dos cuestiones puntuales de dos ejemplos. Estamos formando en este momento a más de 1000 docentes en el ámbito de las competencias digitales en nuestra región para que, a su vez, formen cada vez mejor a todo el alumnado de nuestra región. Pero hay algo mucho más significativo. La digitalización es algo transversal para todos los puestos de trabajo, para todos los empleos. Y en este sentido, desde el conjunto de la economía social, que yo creo que este es otro valor añadido que aportan las organizaciones, estamos negociando, ya se ha cerrado un acuerdo con el Gobierno de España en esta dirección para formar en ámbitos digitales a los 2,5 millones de socios y trabajadores que existen en la economía. Es un acuerdo en la línea. Es un acuerdo, perdón. Es un acuerdo en la línea de la formación de las competencias digitales para todas las empresas que forman parte de la economía social. Bien, yo creo que con este apartado nos quedaría señalar además algo muy importante del papel de la economía social en este sentido, en la formación de inserción de las personas con discapacidad o en riesgo de exclusión, que a su vez están alejadas del mercado laboral. En este sentido tienen un nivel bajo de formación y lo que pretende la economía social, como ya se ha señalado aquí en este ámbito importante, es que nadie se quede atrás y, por tanto, cabe destacar ese papel de la economía social en la formación de estas personas, en el papel de las empresas de inserción y en el papel de los centros especiales de empleo en este sentido. Y sobre la segunda pregunta a la que hacía referencia sobre realmente el valor añadido de las empresas de economía social para garantizar una transición digital justa, yo creo que el emprendimiento colectivo y democrático a través de empresas de economía social está creciendo también en el uso de las herramientas digitales. Como probablemente posteriormente después comentará Giuseppe Guerini, las cooperativas de plataforma digital están creando y creciendo y a su vez desarrollándose a lo largo y ancho de Europa y de todo el mundo. Y en este sentido, la generación de cooperativas de plataforma digital es un movimiento incipiente, con algunas iniciativas como se conoce en distintos puntos del mundo, Montreal, Bolonia, Holanda, la propia cooperativa Suara, que posteriormente intervendrá en este debate. Desde la economía social española y en el marco del programa Next Generation, vamos a presentar un proyecto de una apuesta estratégica y de liderazgo para la adaptación y digitalización del movimiento cooperativo en España y su adaptación a la economía digital y empresas de plataforma a través, además de un centro de excelencia estatal ampliable al ámbito europeo y que sea la primera red internacional de emprendimiento cooperativo digital focalizado en la generación de empleo cooperativo, siendo los jóvenes un colectivo clave en este sentido. Hay muchos ejemplos, cada día más, asociaciones y diferentes organizaciones al servicio de interés colectivo que están utilizándose por parte de los ciudadanos de Europa para compartir coches eléctricos, casas, conocimientos o simplemente consumir juntos alimentos u otros productos éticos. Un modelo similar, y ya lo hemos compartido, ayer mismo lo señalamos en el acto del Comité Económico Social Europeo, fue el tema de las energías renovables. Pero también hay muchas más experiencias en el ámbito de la economía social de forma importante. Por ejemplo, en Canadá, igual no se conoce, en concreto en la región de Quebec, que es todo un laboratorio de ideas para la economía social a nivel global, se encuentra la agrupación más grande del mundo de estudios independientes de creación de videojuegos y Casualidad, es una cooperativa de videojuegos de Quebec que reúne a 245 miembros que emplean a 13.500 personas de la región, que además ayuda a internacionalizarse para recibir estudios. Otro ámbito fundamental también de la economía social en el que ofrecemos respuestas y soluciones, y como decía antes, Laura después intervendrá como representante de Suara, es el de una nueva visión para los servicios sociales de interés general, ligada también al desafío demográfico. Y quizá la cuestión sería, ¿cómo podemos aliarnos con la tecnología para incrementar la calidad de los servicios a los usuarios? ¿Cómo monitorizar, cómo hacer una salud preventiva y al tiempo mismo que garantizamos empleo de alta calidad para los profesionales de un sector marcado tradicionalmente con cierta precariedad? Quiero destacar también, en definitiva, destacar el uso de la tecnología como aliada y algo muy importante que también lo hemos referido en el plan del Next Generation sobre las zonas rurales y despobladas de nuestra Unión. Y en este sentido, un fuerte anclaje territorial, la presencia en el mundo rural, en la escuela, los servicios sociales, la vivienda cooperativa, las cooperativas de energías renovables, el consumo colectivo o la agricultura sostenible son otros ejemplos importantes de cómo la economía social puede en este ámbito trabajar sobre el ámbito de las tecnologías digitales. Quiero finalizar simplemente compartiendo que Europa pone en marcha un plan de recuperación extraordinario que por primera vez moviliza recursos mucho más allá del presupuesto europeo y de las contribuciones de los países. La semana pasada el Parlamento Europeo aprobó el mecanismo de recuperación y resiliencia e incluyó los proyectos de economía social como una de las prioridades de financiación en este sentido. Tenemos además muchas expectativas, como ha señalado el comisario, puestas en el Pacto Europeo por las Competencias y que se lanzó en el mes de octubre y que la economía social forma parte de una de las 12 ecosistemas industriales para esta recuperación. Desde Social Economy Europe nos hemos adherido a este pacto por las competencias y no lo hemos hecho además solo. Todos los socios de Social Economy Europe también se han adherido como actores de la economía social en el ámbito de la educación. La educación, como dice George Washington, es la llave para abrir la puerta de oro de la libertad y va a tener la importancia transformadora que se necesita para la adquisición de los conocimientos. A finales de este año, la Comisión Europea presentará el tan esperado plan de acción, como ha anunciado el propio comisario Schmit, y desde Social Economy en los próximos días presentaremos nuestras propuestas de cara a este plan. Muchísimas gracias nuevamente al Intergrupo de Economía Social por esta participación y desde luego coincido en la necesidad y en la clave de que este año 2021 va a ser un año fundamental para la economía social. Esperemos que todos los amigos de la economía social trabajemos por ello. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Juan Antonio. And once again, you've been able to bring together the different elements of our theme today, as well as reflecting on how the social economy can be a driver for that different economy that is more green, social, sustainable and inclusive. I think we can all agree about the role of education, and I think that your experience in Murcia and in ensuring that training through social economy is truly lifelong learning, and that's something that is incredibly important given the transitions that many people in our societies, particularly those working in traditionally non-digital industries, may have to face when we have this transition. So that real life experience of how it can be done, and then showing how that real life experience can influence the policies and the actions that we need to take at European level and other levels, is extremely valuable for our discussion today. We will now move to hear some more from actors on the ground, from organisations who are engaged in trying to reflect this need for digital upskilling and reskilling through the social economy environment. And how we will do this is that we have given each member of the round table around about 10 minutes to speak, but that will be on the basis of a question that I will be giving them. And this is the opportunity also, if you as our participants have questions that you would like to put to the panelists, to put them forward in the Q&A now. And we hope that if we can manage our time well, there will be some time to pose some of those questions to the members of the roundtable. If it is that you have a question specifically for one of the members of the roundtable, please do indicate that when you put your question on the Q&A section. So I'm going to start by introducing Mr. Giuseppe Guerini, who is president of CECOP, and you can find more about all of our speakers on the biographical document that you were sent in advance. But Mr. Guerini, as president of CECOP, can you share with us how worker cooperatives have become a solution to many issues that are related to atypical work and platform workers? Are, in your opinion, worker cooperatives a pillar to boost a dynamic and fair platform economy in Europe, as has been mentioned also by the Commissioner? And how do the cooperative principles of people first and education, training and information have an impact in the investment of worker cooperatives to upskill and reskill its employees?
Thank you very much for invitation. I speak Italian. Ok. Sicuramente le cooperative sono uno strumento importante per la trasformazione del lavoro, lo sono state nella loro storia, quando hanno aggregato dei lavoratori fragili di un tempo, pensiamo ai primi esperimenti di cooperazione di lavoro con i facchini, o quando più recentemente le cooperative sociali, soprattutto in Italia, hanno lavorato sull'inserimento lavorativo delle persone. Quindi noi guardiamo con grande interesse alla trasformazione digitale. Quello che oggi noi chiamiamo fenomeno delle piattaforme è un fenomeno molto complesso e rappresenta l'infrastruttura organizzativa di una importante parte dell'economia digitale. E del resto, quando noi pensiamo all'economia digitale o all'economia delle piattaforme, non dobbiamo pensare soltanto a Uber o a Glovo, agli autisti e ai fattorini, ma parliamo anche, ad esempio, di social network o di piattaforme di condivisione dei dati, di piattaforme di e-commerce. E quindi un fenomeno davvero molto vasto che interessa molti aspetti della nostra vita, ma soprattutto sta cambiando molto il mondo del lavoro. Se pensiamo alla fabbrica e alla catena di montaggio, che è stata la rappresentazione esemplare dell'industrializzazione dell'economia nel secolo scorso. Oggi le economie di piattaforma sono la nuova organizzazione dell'economia digitale, la nuova infrastruttura dell'economia digitale. Ma laddove la fabbrica aggregava e concentrava i lavoratori, dava identità, oggi la digitalizzazione consente di parcellizzare il lavoro in una forma che potremmo definire individualizzazione di massa, che per i consumatori rappresenta una possibilità di espandere enormemente le possibilità di scelta. Sul versante dei lavoratori, invece, questa individualizzazione si trasforma spesso in solitudine, incertezza, esposizione al rischio. Come spesso io dico, l'economia, la sharing economy fa uno sharing del rischio di impresa, uno sharing del rischio di mercato, ma una privatizzazione dei profitti e della governance. Mentre noi ovviamente col modello cooperativo proponiamo una partecipazione diretta di lavoratori o anche di utenti dentro il sistema delle piattaforme. In entrambi i casi, quando parliamo sia di utenti, utilizzatori di piattaforme, sia di lavoratori, spesso ci troviamo di fronte a una spoliazione delle capacità di controllo e di partecipazione alle possibilità di scelte. Accade questo ai ciclofattorini che sono valutati dagli algoritmi o agli autisti di Uber che vengono misurati sulle performance da un algoritmo, o accade a noi, a ciascuno di noi, quando regaliamo i nostri dati a un social network o una piattaforma multimediale. Se pensiamo quindi alla trasformazione del lavoro, questa parcellizzazione può prendere la forma di una nuova alienazione fatta di sfruttamento e spersonalizzazione. Oppure abbiamo un'alternativa. Questa trasformazione può essere l'occasione di una nuova forma di protagonismo, dell'assunzione di un ruolo attivo da parte dei lavoratori per realizzarsi e che prende ovviamente spunto da un nuovo spirito di intrapresa, da una propensione all'imprenditorialità che trova nella cooperativa lo strumento adeguato. Noi abbiamo fatto una ricerca come CECOP che abbiamo intitolato All for One, ed è una risposta delle cooperative, poi la metto in chat anche il link per poterla andare a leggere. Allora, se la solitudine espone al rischio di isolamento e rende fragile il lavoratore o l'imprenditore, l'aggregazione in forma collettiva, in forma cooperativa, consente di giocare contemporaneamente il ruolo del libero imprenditore, il freelance, ma anche quello del collettivo organizzato che mutualizza il lavoro e trasforma la solidarietà in energia imprenditoriale. Da questo punto di vista, la tecnologia digitale è l'infrastruttura ideale per lo scambio mutualistico, per andare oltre il lavoro e sperimentare concretamente nuove forme di cooperazione solidale, mettendo in evidenza quella figura tipica che noi abbiamo chiamato produttore consumatore o prosumer, come la chiama qualche sociologo, che abita oggi l'economia digitale. Ecco allora che le cooperative possono rappresentare una valida forma per ricomporre le divaricazioni e ridistribuire potere ai consumatori ma anche ai lavoratori. E quindi sono convinto che le cooperative possano organizzarsi per esprimere meglio questa capacità, organizzare il lavoro, organizzare i consumatori per una distributore orizzontale del potere e quindi migliorare la partecipazione collettiva con un'accessibilità diffusa, la decentralizzazione, la trasparenza. Emblematica da questo punto di vista è appunto la tecnologia dei registri distribuiti, la più famosa è ovviamente quella che si chiama blockchain. Ora, per assumere questa sfida però, le cooperative devono farsi carico fino in fondo della responsabilità di formare e informare i propri soci e i propri lavoratori. Mettere le persone al centro, appunto, significa accompagnarle, educarle a questa transizione digitale, perché non si tratta solo di informatizzare il lavoro o le nostre organizzazioni, ma si tratta di cambiare radicalmente la cultura e l'organizzazione del lavoro per assumere un modo di pensare digitale. Perché oggi, come tutti sappiamo bene, noi viviamo in una infosfera. Abbiamo utilizzato spesso in passato la metafora dell'ecosistema per definire la necessità di una pluralità di forme di impresa che coesistono con le loro diversità. Ma l'ecosistema fa parte della biosfera. Oggi noi viviamo una infosfera che è fatta al tempo stesso di contenuti fisici e di contenuti digitali, virtuali, informativi, che cambiano continuamente il nostro modo di lavorare. Per farlo dobbiamo pensare seriamente anche come organizzare la gestione dei dati. Lo diceva prima in apertura l'onorevole Patrizia Toia. I dati sono la nuova energia dell'economia digitale. Se la macchina a vapore è stata l'energia della prima industrializzazione, l'energia elettrica è stata quella della globalizzazione, i dati sono il carburante della transizione digitale. Allora, possedere, trattare, scambiare, rimanere proprietari dei propri dati diventa un asset strategico per l'economia sociale. Allora dobbiamo utilizzare l'opportunità che ci offre la Commissione europea con il nuovo Data Governance Act, che è stato proposto solo da qualche settimana, che cita espressamente le cooperative di dati come organizzazioni, oppure le organizzazioni non lucrative per la gestione altruistica dei dati. Sono una pista di lavoro eccezionale per le organizzazioni dell'economia sociale, per continuare a svolgere quel ruolo per la democratizzazione dell'economia digitale che noi vogliamo giocare. Grazie.
Thank you very much for that intervention and for invoking the cooperative spirit that then transfers into empowering people, and not only to be workers, but also to be entrepreneurs in their own right. And if I may, I'd like to put one question to you already that's come up in the chat, and that's from Luigi Martinetti, who I think many of us know. And he's asking the question that we're talking about how we in the social economy adapt to digitalization. And given that you've reflected quite a lot on the values and the basis for the cooperative work, is there also another question, which is how do we enable the digitalization transition to adopt and adapt to the ethos and values of the social economy sector? Are we pushing too hard that we must adapt, or do we have a role in adapting and changing what is already, how digitalization is going?
Sì, lo dobbiamo fare, non c'è un'alternativa, noi dobbiamo impegnarci per andare in questa direzione. Guardiamo, le cooperative hanno fin dalla prima Costituzione sempre inserito nei loro principi fondamentali l'informazione e l'educazione dei propri soci. Questo le ha rese più resilienti e questo le ha accompagnate nella trasformazione del lavoro nella storia di questi 2 secoli di protagonismo cooperativo. Questa è un'occasione che non dobbiamo perdere. Il mondo va veloce, noi non stiamo andando troppo veloci, è il mondo e la trasformazione digitale che è molto veloce. Noi abbiamo il compito e la responsabilità di non lasciare indietro nessuno. Dobbiamo evitare che la digitalizzazione dell'economia sia un affare per pochi, sia cioè una scelta elitaria, una elite di persone che conosce gli strumenti digitali, sa manipolare gli algoritmi, un po' come è accaduto nella finanza, che un'elite di pochi governa la finanza mondiale. Noi dobbiamo evitare questo rischio e fare in modo che il numero più ampio possibile dei nostri soci venga accompagnato verso questo nuovo modo di vivere, come dice un filosofo italiano, on life. Noi non si tratta più di stare online o offline, ma viviamo on life in un contesto appunto digitale che ci chiede di fare questo sforzo.
Thank you very much for taking on board that question that's come in. I'm now going to turn to Laura Peracaula, who is the co-director of the Suara Cooperativa, which has a vision for quality and fair caring economy. And as one of the leading business groups in a diversity of areas, for example, social services to people, especially young people, children and the elderly, and ensuring its insertion through training and business activity, I wonder if you could tell us more about your business model for those who still don't know your model. Why is investment in worker training and in technology and innovation so important to you? And finally, what are your expectations regarding the recovery and resilience facility and the plans that are being proposed, and its ability to transform our economies and strengthen social cohesion by also investing in social economy? So Laura, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you for your introduction and inviting me to speak today. In answer to your questions, Suara is a cooperative born in 2008 with a history of almost 40 years. In 2008, 3 non-profit social cooperatives decided to stop competing, merge, and set up Suara. We are a social initiative work cooperative. We employ 5,000 people, and of which 1,200 are work partners and 90% women. Our activity is very wide, from childcare in a broad sense of meaning, from preventive services to highly specialized services, people at risk of social exclusion, families, education, occupation, and a wide package of services oriented to the elderly, from residential services where people live to home care services, which is where we will focus today. All this with an ethical business management in a sustainable way and transparency in order to have an impact on our environment to reach a common good according to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals Agenda 2030. We have great expertise in home care services, 3 million hours per year with more than 2,500 professionals in Catalonia. Here is where we have the challenge. Historically, home care is a service that has been provided as a public service with a strict legal framework. There is a law that protects home care as a universal right for citizens, but with a deficient budget. And where the public service does not reach, families must seek private solutions to care for their elders. We have been in this framework for years, and now it seems very likely to change in the near future. There is a population aging increment that will require more professionals, with a strain on public budgets and families who find it difficult to pay for the services when there is an increased need for care. Due to this complicated situation, we are wondering how the home care model could be sustainable in the future. How can we combine a decent job for the professionals with an accessible service both for the public administration and for the families when the payer is private? We think this is not only our challenge, it's a challenge for society in general. Many people and companies are working to find solutions, generally technological solutions for self-medication, self-care, emergency warning systems, among others. But none is a global solution, a solution that engages the person who needs care and the professional at the same time. Using the digital transformation process carried out by Suara Lab in 2014, we have managed to find a global solution that takes both the assisted person and professional into account. Our social lab is a space founded with the aim of responding to social challenges by transforming the environment and caring for people. It offers better working conditions to our professionals while at the same time offering a better service to our clients and assisted people. How? Introducing technology, obviously, but not only. We have broken up the home care service into 4 large stages of activity that require different solutions. The first one, professional care, where we provide the value of the professionals, caring for, assisting, and empowering dependent people for their maximum autonomy. The professionals offer their expertise that no one or nothing can replace. The second one, follow up. We have the need to ensure that the person needing care is safe at home and in good conditions. For now, this is done with the presence of people who do not have a specific function, but who look after the assisted person. This job can be largely, but not totally, replaced by technology, surveillance cameras, sensors, to detect risk situations and reduce the professional presence needed. The third one, make life easier. Sometimes people have to go to buy everyday goods such as bread, run small errands, go shopping. If the assisted person cannot do it by themselves, they have to hire someone. We think that there are other more economic ways to do this. Promoting the neighborhood movement, as the current pandemic has highlighted, or as people do in small communities. We want to work on it from a community perspective, adding value to the assisted person, but also to the community, who would feel as if they were contributing to and jointly responsible for the care and what happens to the elderly. And the last one, a company. Company for the elderly who are alone. Some studies demonstrate that the average time spent watching TV by the elderly is at least 6 hours a day. What does TV do? It keeps elderly people company in their loneliness. TV is a technology that people over 75 to 80 years old can recognize and have most integrated in their lives. For the reason, we believe TV can be the solution in this stage. TV can be the meeting point for all the technologies we need to place at home to ensure the well-being of elderly people. From TV, we can access monitoring and supervision, news, memories, communications with the family, among others, generating specific content and channels of their interest. We will turn TV into a hub. The other key element is how professionals work. We have been talking about how to fight loneliness in people, but we also have to talk about the loneliness of the professionals. We find that professionals suffer great loneliness. They cannot share their professional experience with anyone and usually work more than 8 hours a day without extra payment, as the Domestic Workers Agreement says. Moreover, jobs offering digital platforms are appearing, an intermediation for hiring professionals that, in general terms, does not comply with the work regulations applicable to the sector. As a work cooperative committed as much to the assisted people we serve as to our professionals, we defend both. However, the invisible work that our professionals do every day to help elderly people and their families to reach higher levels of well-being needs to be highly valued as well. We are exploring shared governance models to work from the 15-minute city model, where people meet and work together to create a model of neighborhood self-management. We have to redefine professionals' competency profiles. They are not only caregivers, they are professionals trained in caring for dependent people and also with basic technical skills to ensure the proper functioning of the technology that is in the home of the assisted person. This change in the model should be reflected in salary improvements. Our proposal relies on work cooperatives, where professionals can join as members and organize their own work through a cooperative digital platform. This is the solution we are working on, a highly complex solution that can deeply transform the care industry that we cannot tackle alone. The collaboration of everyone is essential: public and private sectors, administrations and public organizations, legislators, technology sector, social economy organizations, working together to find a model that allows us to solve this great social challenge. Answering the last question asked by Heather, this is a radical transformation of the home care sector. It will take some years, but we must act as quickly as possible. We hope that the Europe and Recovery Plan are going to accelerate it, giving funds directly to the social economy sector, being sensible with the real possibilities of co-finance by cooperatives, and reducing bureaucracy. It's time to collaborate together and act in order to reach the well-being of people in Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Laura. I have to say I was quite inspired by the model that you're developing and the four elements that bring to it. And it reminds me of a model I've seen also in development in Germany. And I think that whole question of neighborhoods, about the person receiving care, the person giving care, and the technology sector and bringing them together is a real key message, that if we are going to see the greater engagement by social economy in upskilling, in digital transitions, then it has to be part of a partnership as well with those, and that might again hopefully encourage some democratization of the digital sector. I think what's also really important is what you said, it's highly complex. This is not something that can be done overnight, but something that will take time, and the need to have EU funds from different places to support that. And that reflects some of the questions that we've had already today about how EU funds can directly support such transitions and not being in some way held back by perhaps different approaches at local government level. So we will now move on to our next speaker, and that is Ms. Sibylle Reichert, who is coming from the Mutual Associations, where she is the Executive Director of the International Association of Mutual Benefit Societies. And we are very aware, Sibylle, that mutuals are a key element of Europe's universal healthcare systems. And now the question is, how have they reacted and adapted to the pandemic and indeed social distancing? Is digitalization becoming essential to maintain a permanent contact with users and foster preventative healthcare? Is it also the question that in the post-pandemic world that will emerge, could you also elaborate on how you see mutuals can be an ally of the civil society and public authorities to build universal and solidarity-based healthcare systems where they don't yet exist? Over to you.
Thank you very much, Heather. Thank you very much to the Social Economy Intergroup and Social Economy Europe for inviting me to this. Just shortly about AIM to start. So we represent, as you said, Heather, the statutory and complementary health and social insurers. We have currently 55 members in 28 countries. This includes Europe, but also Africa and Latin America. And we represent 240 million insured people. And actually, the link to social economy for us is that we are a founding member of the social economy. So this is our link. So our objectives are cost-efficient, affordable health and social care, strengthened mutual benefit societies in the area of health, but also social services, and that are recognized as such for their value in social economy. And here again, the link to social economy. And we strive for health and social protection for all without inequalities. So coming to your first questions, we are certainly a key element with regard to the universal healthcare, and how have our members reacted and adapted to the pandemic and to the social distancing. So first of all, our members very quickly had to adapt because we are very much involved in this pandemic as payers of the healthcare system. So the members themselves, they have quickly changed to telework as much as possible. They allowed for people to work from home as much as possible and put at their disposal the means, but they also adapted their trainings to online courses. And sometimes members, as for example, Solidaris in Belgium, they also set up talk groups for the people to better cope with everything that this pandemic brings with. We also have done a survey of our members because we wanted to know how do they react, what is the impact. And then, first of all, what came out of the survey is that there will and is a financial impact. Many operations had been postponed during the first wave, but also now in the second wave in many countries. So this is from a financial point of view, it actually postponed the costs to a later moment. And for the future, our members fear that if there is an economic crisis, this will certainly have an impact on the financial points with regard to contributions that will have to be increased because of rising costs. Then one of the challenges for our members were the continuity of care. As I said, many operations had been postponed, and especially for people with cancer or other long-term sicknesses, the continuity of care was sometimes not easy to follow. So that was also an impact on the patients, but certainly also on the health insurance. And it also already has been mentioned, digitalization has been accelerated really tremendously. So our members had to quickly adapt to the situation, and I will come back to that later on, also with regard to and upskill their workforce. And then some of the health insurers became new roles, or got new roles. So, for example, they did tracking and tracing of contact persons who had been in contact with people that were infected by COVID. Others, they did large information campaigns to inform their members about how to deal with the pandemic, but also how to behave in the pandemic. And what we have seen at the beginning of the pandemic was a lack of solidarity, which was really a pity, but that quickly has been taken up by the European Commission, and we were very glad to see that countries worked really closely together to deal or treat patients that couldn't be treated in the home country because a lack of capacity. So solidarity was an issue, is now an issue again, I think, with regard to the vaccination. And I think one of the points that we really need to focus on is that we make sure that everybody gets access to those vaccines, including outside of Europe, because we will only be safe if everybody is safe. So with regard to the international perspective, as you know, AIM is an international association. Actually, the impact on our members was the same in the different areas, whereas we have specific issues with regard to inequities. In many countries in Africa, or a large part of the population in Africa and in Latin America don't even have access to healthcare. So this is really a challenge for those countries. So for us, it's important to promote also mutual benefit healthcare in these parts of the world. So I come now to the second question, which is digitalization becoming essential to maintain a permanent contact with users and foster preventive care? I would say clearly yes. I mean, we are riding on a racetrack at the moment with regard to digitalization. Many countries have now issued laws on e-health, on e-prescription, on patient records, and this goes at a pace that we really have sometimes difficulties to follow. There's a big role of artificial intelligence in healthcare as well, and it has been mentioned before. We really need to make sure that this comes with an ethical framework and in an ecosystem of trust. After all, healthcare data should be to the benefit of the patients. And you can already see now that the industry, the for-profit industry, is really having a race to get hold of as many data as possible. So we as mutuals and as social economy actors need to make sure that this comes with an ethical framework and an ecosystem of trust. So furthermore, our services have been really rapidly digitalized. So when the pandemic kicked in, things happened that we couldn't imagine before. It was possible to do telemedicine treatments. It was possible to all at once to call and you got a sick leave via email. So the pandemic really has accelerated that. But really what is needed is that the patients are in the center of all this evolvement and developments, and we need to make sure that they understand what's happening. So we also should promote the literacy of the patients with regard to those digital developments. And then one very important thing is the reskilling and upskilling of the workforce. As I said before, it's necessary and it's already done. So some of our members, for example, our French members, they have large training institutes. They adapted quickly the curricula. They provide specialized training for specific needs here in Belgium for data modeling, business analysts. I mean, I think that the whole workforce will be adapted and needs to be adapted to this new digital reality of the health insurances. So others do blended learning, others do training on e-services for patients. So a lot is going on actually with regard to the and upskilling of our workers. And I participated 2 days ago in a roundtable with 3 commissioners, Schmit, Kyriakides, and Breton, on the reskilling and upskilling. But unfortunately, the payers or the reimbursers of the healthcare were not at the table, but were only allowed as observers. And we really need to make sure that we are, as mutuals, also in the front line of what's happening at European level with regard to the skilling. With regard to mutuals in the post-pandemic world, the question was, how can we be an ally of the civil society and public authorities to build universal and solidarity healthcare systems where they do not exist yet? So, I mean, we are part of the civil society, we are part of social economy, and we do everything to promote access to health and healthcare services as much as possible. We are based on solidarity, and we seek that our members are prevented from sicknesses, and we do health promotion mechanisms to make sure that they are nudged into a healthy behavior to avoid sickness. And then we also act and provide our services on the social determinants of health. So we don't go for profit, we are really not for profit. And we want to make sure that the patient is in the center. So we are, and we were and are clear allies of the governments in the fight against the COVID, but also in the economic recovery. I think that health is one of the ecosystems at European, but also at international level, that will really, that really represents a growth potential. And I speak here of sustainable growth, where the profits are not used to pay shareholders, but where we have a stakeholder economy where everybody is involved and has a say, and the profit is really to improve the services, but not to pay shareholders. So there is an importance and urgency to build and strengthen health systems in a structural way, especially outside of Europe, like in Africa and the Middle East and in Latin America. As I said before, health is global, and we need to make sure that everybody has access. So one of our advantages is also that we are really close to the population. We empower our members, they can participate in our governance. So we use solidarity mechanisms, and as I said before, we are committed to prevention, health promotion, and we finance access to healthcare, and mutuals are de facto also civil society players, and we are capable of helping with the development of universal healthcare coverage. So to conclude, I think that health systems, they are national, but the pandemic is global. So it's self-evident that in this pandemic has shown it's really necessary to have resilient health systems to face this pandemic, health systems that are based on solidarity and that are not for profit and that are based on democratic principles. And coming back to the Sustainable Development Goals, I only want to mention 2 of them. One is the number 16 with regard to peace, justice, and strong institutions. I think mutuals and also social economy actors are really strong institutions that can promote peace and social, really good societies and advance us in many ways, and we should be really part of this new economy that is coming after the pandemic. So, and the second one is certainly access to health, good health and well-being, which is the Sustainable Development Goal 3, but also all the other Sustainable Development Goals are a perfect example of how mutuals and social economy actors are important for the future after this pandemic. So we also have to prepare our workforce for the future, that's clear. We have to face the digitalization, but we also have to make sure that those who receive the healthcare will be also skilled, and that is then what I call health literacy. And I also think that all over the world we should fight for universal access to healthcare, because this is key to avoid future pandemics that will certainly come. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sibylle. And I think that we can all agree that we have seen such rapid changes in the digitalization of health, and what was not possible 1.5 years ago all of a sudden became possible through necessity. But the impact of that, of course, is ensuring that people, whether it be the workforce or the users of the healthcare system, are equipped to be able to access what's needed or deliver what's needed based on the skills that they have. So that illustration you gave about the urgent need to upskill and reskill the staff of mutuals at this current time is a really significant one. We are going to turn to our final speaker in this section, and then if we have time, we'll try and follow up on a few of the questions that have been posted. A number of them are to do with EU level finances, which we may not be able to take here. And also, I believe the Commissioner is no longer with us. But we can certainly gather these questions and pass them on to Commissioner Schmit afterwards. So last but by no means least, I'm delighted to introduce Patrizia Bussi, who is the Director of ENSIE, who many of you are aware are focused around work integration social enterprises. And we know already, Patrizia, that such enterprises, WISE, play a key role in training and offering work and social opportunities for people at risk of inclusion. And I'm aware that you're working with about 28 other organisations, including ESPD, working on the BWISE project funded by Erasmus+, precisely aiming at defining the skills needed by disadvantaged workers and their supporters. So perhaps you can tell us from your experience as Director of ENSIE and your oversight of the network, what are the main needs that you're seeing in terms of skills for so-called disadvantaged workers? What are the needs of their trainers and their supporters, if there are any? And how has digitalization affected and impacted WISE? Is really the digital divide a challenge?
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, everyone. I would like to share my screen, if possible. Is this working?
Yes.
Perfect. So just press. Okay, perfect. So I will first talk to you a little bit more about WISEs, about this BWISE project, and then I will try to answer the question later. So first of all, ENSIE is the European Network of Social Integration Enterprises, and represent the interest of a growing EU-wide network of work integration social enterprises striving for more inclusive and integrated form of employment. ENSIE work in partnership with the European Commission and with the Directorate Employment since 10 years now. And since 2019, ENSIE is at the Vice Presidency of Social Economy Europe, and we are this year particularly happy for this because this allows us to really put our contribute to the work ongoing for the Social Economy Action Plan. Concerning integration social enterprise, this is more for people that are perhaps less in the social economy sector. The social economy enterprise in Europe are 2 million, and we can say that the WISE are a subset of social economy enterprise. They are the social enterprise working for the support of people excluded from the labor market, and how they do this, facilitating their integration and providing training and job opportunities. Concerning the BeWise project, as I say by Heather, this is a project founded by the Erasmus Plus program, and BeWise stands for Blueprint for Sectoral Cooperation on Skill in Work Integration Social Enterprises. And these follow the European Education Agenda that was published by the European Commission. And this is linked also to the key action that were described in the agenda. And this is linked in particular also to the Pact for Skill initiatives and this idea to create a great partnership in order to try to answer to the skill needs in the sector, and in the case of BeWise, especially for the work integration social enterprises. And we can say that BeWise try to develop a European strategy to address the skill needs, especially digital, in the WISE sector. BeWise is led by ESPD, that I think many of you know, the European Association for Service Provider for People with Disability, and by ENSIE, that is co-leading. These bring together 28 partners from 13 countries. And in every country, we have tried to have a WISE sector representative, a VAT provider, so vocational education training provider, and a representative of national authorities. And then together with us, there are some European umbrella organizations. I have here let an idea of countries that are involved in this project so that you can know more. So we have some West country, Austria, Belgium, France, Netherlands. We have some East country, Bulgaria, Latvia, Poland, Romania. And we have some South country, Croatia, Greece, Italy, Slovenia, and Spain. Concerning BeWise project, this is, as I told you before, trying to establish a new wide partnership for skill concerning work integration social enterprise in order to support the growth of the sector and to avoid the social exclusion of disadvantaged group due especially to digitalization. And the project will try to target the WISEs in every different economics domain, targeting different type of target group. And we have 3 main staff categories that are targeted by the project. We can see the 3 targets here. I'm going to change again this, so you have the possibility. So we have within the BeWise project the target on disadvantaged employee, and within disadvantaged employee we can find person with disability, long-term unemployed people, migrants, needs, and other type of disadvantaged employee. Then we have the supporter, so the job coacher, the tutor, the trainer, and we have also what we call the enabler, so the manager, the engineers, and all the people that are managing the different WISEs or sector within a WISEs. Now going to the questions and to the link of my intervention also with the BeWise project, why there is this project. This project that has just started, I think this is a really important information. This will start in the 1st January of this year, and that will last for 4 years with a big amount of money, because we have anyway 4 million of money. The purpose is to cover the skill shortages and mismatches for disadvantaged group. Yes, from disadvantaged group, we can say that this will try to cover the needs in basic skills, so in the skills that are linked to the very basic things of having unemployment, so to arrive in time, to arrive in a proper way, so the basic one, to the soft skills, so the skill linked to the fact that people should learn a job and to do well this job, and also absolutely the digital one, especially now, 1 year after of this unfortunate big COVID crisis, that for the first period has stopped many of WISEs. So for the first period, many of these activities were stopped, and just after the stop, the WISEs and also the worker have found other way to continue the activity. Then the purpose to cover also the skill needs for the other two target groups, so the enabler and the manager. And in order to give you already an idea of this, I'm now using the result of another project, that is the InnoWise project, an Interreg project in which ENSIE was involved, that was more linked to the central country of European Union. And within this project, we underline already which are the main skill needs sector for manager and also for enabler. In particular, on the needs were underlined for the management of human resource. So to find the optimal way to integrate people efficiently and using managerial and ICT-based tool, on marketing and communication, so to improve the business performance through ICT marketing and e-commerce tool, and also to creating a network, and also concerning the financial shortages. So how to improve the access to financial resource, and also how to improve the management capacity for finding financial resources. So these were the skill needs that were found through the research of the InnoWise project. And concerning the result of BWise, for sure we will have to wait at least for the research phase that is now ongoing and will finish in 12, 15 months. We will have to wait at least 1 year. But what we can say is that absolutely this digitalization is a challenge for WISEs, is a challenge for the worker, and is a big challenge for disadvantaged worker. We already know this. It's very difficult for some of them to be digital and to live this digital transition. We need to be honest. Digitalization still now is not for everyone. We need to work on this in order that digitalization can become also available for worker and also for disadvantaged worker. And at the same time, another big challenge that I really always want to underline is that digitalization is very good and we need to work with digitalization, but we also know that some of the workplace that are now still now on the ends of some disadvantaged worker are sometimes replaced by the fact that there is digitalization and there are new machines. So we really need to do the balance and to try to find a way to live well with digitalization and find in the digitalization the good point and the point that can allow people to get a job and to be prepared and ready for being in the market and at the same time in the society. Thank you very much, Heather, and all for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Patrizia. And I think it's a very important project that you've presented that will indeed start to answer some of the questions that we've had today. So we look forward to receiving that in the future. We're now moving to our closing part of this event. There have been a number of questions raised in the chat that, as I said, we'll take into account. and as well as some comments about sharing information, particularly from the experts that we've just had on our panel. So we do encourage you to contact them directly to be able to exchange and share information. We turn now to our closing remarks from two other members of the Social Economy Intergroup. And I'm delighted that we're joined by Jordi, who is Vice Chair of the Social Economy Intergroup, and Lina Gálvez, who is also a member of the Intergroup. And Lina has also been a rapporteur for the semester and indeed a shadow rapporteur for the Pact for Skills. So we're going to invite them both to speak for about 8 minutes each. And so if I can invite Jordi Calvas, if you would like to go first, please.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. En primer lugar, quería agradeceros al Social Economy Europe por la invitación y a los ponentes por esta fantástica jornada. Como todo lo inteligente y lo importante ya se ha dicho, voy a intentar hacer una aproximación al debate desde la perspectiva de los legisladores. Decía Bob Dylan en el año 63 que los tiempos estaban cambiando. Yo creo que esa canción nos acompañaba a todos, The Times Are Changing, o sea, nos acordamos, ya en el 63 los tiempos estaban cambiando, pero ahora es que están cambiando de una forma muy acelerada. Vivimos un momento de una profunda transformación y de un profundo cambio, no solo de nuestro modelo económico y productivo y laboral, sino también de nuestras propias relaciones sociales, de los actores económicos, geopolíticos. Y nos estamos también enfrentando como legisladores y como instituciones a los retos y a nuevos límites de la acción política, de la acción pública. Y por lo tanto tenemos que afrontarlos, porque los momentos de cambio, los cambios no necesariamente son ni para mejor ni son buenos. Los cambios ofrecen oportunidades y también retos y problemas. Y nuestro papel como legisladores y como sociedad civil es intentar que estos cambios se orienten de una forma que beneficien a la mayoría de la población. Ojalá fuera a todos los ciudadanos, pero a la mayoría de la población, ¿no? Entonces, los retos son tantos a veces que nos obliga a tomar cierta distancia y quizás ahora mucha distancia, pero esa distancia también nos puede hacer perder el detalle, y el detalle son las personas. Porque detrás de estos cambios y de estas transformaciones, de estos deslizamientos, de estos retos, muchos, yo creo que todos compartimos en que se corre el riesgo de dejar a muchas personas atrás. Y creo que ese es el gran reto en el cual nos encontramos. Que el hacer frente a estos retos y a estos cambios y darles respuestas no conlleve dejar personas atrás. Yo creo que esa es nuestra gran obligación. Y en ese reto, la economía social tiene un rol formidable, porque su propia naturaleza pone a las personas y al beneficio social en el centro de su acción. Y dado que la economía social forma parte de la economía y la economía se encuentra frente a grandes retos que podríamos resumir, por ejemplo, en datos. El 85% de los trabajos que estarán disponibles en 2030 no se han inventado, por ejemplo. Que más de 15 millones de empleos podrían sucumbir a la automatización. Casi el 50% de los actuales trabajos pueden ser objetos de automatización. Nos encontramos ante situaciones muy complicadas de personas en ámbitos determinados edades que pueden verse expulsadas de sus trabajos y personas que por su falta de capacitación no sean capaces de insertarse en el mercado laboral. Y entonces, como decía, ya que la economía social tiene como objetivo las personas y la sociedad, tenemos que ser capaces de dotarla de aquellos instrumentos clave en el contexto del cambio, de la transformación y la adaptación, como son la formación, la capacitación y el conocimiento. Es importante dotar a la economía social, a las empresas, asociaciones, al tejido de la economía social, de aquellas capacitaciones formativas que permitan adaptarse a estos cambios, porque la economía social tiene que adaptarse también. Está obligada a adaptarse, no puede vivir al margen, no lo vive, de hecho la economía social ha hecho de la adaptación una de sus cartas de naturaleza, pero tiene que proseguir porque su objetivo social es imprescindible para ese futuro mejor para todos que queremos, ¿no? Por lo tanto, la economía social debe liderar estos cambios, estas transformaciones y estas adaptaciones, poniendo el acento y poniendo la formación, la capacitación y el conocimiento como el instrumento que le puede permitir adaptarse a estos cambios. Por lo tanto, si queremos que realmente el futuro de Europa, futuro del mundo, pero el futuro de Europa sea más abierto, más justo, más diverso, más inclusivo, más democrático, dentro de las estrategias que la Unión Europea está asumiendo, como el Green Deal y como la digitalización, si esos valores, esas estrategias queremos que lleguen a buen puerto, tenemos que ser capaces de dotar de los instrumentos y los recursos suficientes para permitir esas transformaciones, con el objetivo, repito, de que podamos hacer frente a esos retos, minimizando las consecuencias negativas para nuestra sociedad e intentando que de esos retos podamos salir como una sociedad más justa, más inclusiva, más unida, más trabada, más justa. Y eso depende de cada uno de nosotros. Yo, repito, como todo lo que habéis dicho está perfectamente alineado con estos objetivos, para acabar y para pasar a dar paso a la última ponente. Decir, como decía Bob Dylan también en la canción, ¿no? Si el tiempo es para vosotros algo que merece la pena conservar, entonces es mejor empezar a nadar o nos hundiremos como una piedra. Entonces, yo creo que hay que hacer caso a Bob Dylan y hay que hacer caso al comisario Schmit y hay que empezar a nadar. Hay que empezar a nadar para ser capaces de surfear estas olas difíciles, pero salir al final todos indemnes, ¿no? Repito, Bob Dylan y el comisario Schmit nos marcan el camino. Hay que seguirlo. Gracias.
Thank you very much. I would have been delighted if Commissioner Schmit was here to say that his future is to be aligned with Bob Dylan in a political sense, but we'll make sure that we pass that on to him. Thank you very much for that encouraging and inspiring intervention, reminding us of the values that we are working towards and how time doesn't stand still while digitalization, but while our world changes. So we come now to our final speaker for this morning. As I mentioned, it is Lina Gálvez, also a member of the European Parliament. So we invite you to take the floor for your 8 minutes, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll just to change to continue with Bob Dylan and Jordi, I will move to English. So it is true that everything has said more or less, but still I'm so happy to be in this meeting, in this group, and obviously because this is a topic that is very, very, very close to my heart. On the one hand, because before I entered the parliament, I was regional minister and social economy was among my competences. And also because I've been always a university professor at economics department, and I have always promoted alternative to mainstreaming process maximization enterprises. So I have promoted social economy a lot. And the other hand, and dealing with many files in the European Parliament now regarding digital transition and competences. So it is something I'm really happy. I've been very happy also to listen all the proposals because I'm really, I would say, convinced how important it is to promote the social economy for our economies and our societies. And I have to say, I am a really fan of the cooperative enterprises model. And I agree with the Commissioner that we will not go out of this crisis only with a profit maximization behavior, that we should not continue. I mean, we will never have a fair and healthy economy even in a non-crisis time, if this profit maximization is the only engine of our economies. So we really need to change that. I will insist in two ideas, and that's all, because I don't have much time. And on the one hand, I think we really need to have into, I will say how much we need to have into consideration the work and the ideas provided by the social economy enterprises, organizations, and NGO working with economic models based on social and solidarity principles in order to advance in our digital Europe, in this digital agenda. And on the other hand, how urgent is to incorporate to this digital agenda a social innovation transversal approach. I think both elements are key to speed up and to escalate the potential of our European digital agenda and the recovery, transformation, and resilience plans that we'll start to put on movement in the next month. And for that, we will invest, and we have to design the skill and competences agenda for all European citizens. So very quickly, why I think those elements are essential. We are trying all the time, calling all the time about this twin transition. And we have already seen how with the COVID-19 crisis, the digitalization of our economies, administration, societies, education, of our lives have been accelerated, as Jordi was saying. And this process is having deep consequences on our labor markets and labor conditions, but it's affecting all of us in a very unequal way, and including many inequalities like gender, ethnic, regional, young people that really need to start their professional lives. And as it has already been said, people that we cannot left behind. So we really need to invest and design this digital agenda and capabilities, but because we really need a digital expert, of course, but we will need, what we need especially is this digital literacy, that everybody will be able to participate and to benefit from this digital transformation process. But that will not be enough if we don't change our models towards more inclusive enterprises models and towards different policies, especially different economic policies. I hope we have learned lessons from the previous crisis. And here, in these lessons is where I think social enterprises and especially cooperative systems are a very good vehicle to better share profits, to better invest on capabilities and skills. And there are excellent vehicles to fix wealth and employment to the territories in which they are created. And this is very essential, having in mind our high inequalities already existing, including geographical ones, and having in mind our demographic trends. So I move very quickly to the other issue, the social innovation as a key and transversal aspect to accelerate processes, including the digitalization in a sustainable, in a fair way. Of course, Europe and our regions need new ideas, products, new processes, new models and organizations. There was Mr. Guerini saying before that this world is moving fast, too fast, faster than our capacity to react to policy as policymakers. For that, we really need to count with our societies, with our people, with our citizens to promote this social innovation in order we could transit to this digital world with ideas, model processes that are environmental and socially sustainable. We need to find the best solutions for our problems and challenges. And when I say the best, I do not mean the ones generating more growth as such. Only, since when a forest burns, for instance, the GDP growth, but we all losers except the enterprises that will clean up the place and the ones selling the burnt wood. So when I say the best solution, I mean the best solution for the majority of our society, not just for a few. And social innovation through the social economy is possibly the best way to avoid this poor economic growth model we have seen rises in the whole world since the 1980s. So through citizen participation, hopefully a digitally literate and skilled population, using mixed system, including public, private, and obviously social, this mixed system, as the cooperative and the many social economy enterprises we will be able to achieve a sustainable and fair development that will work for everybody, not just for a few. This is the real background of a social Europe and a real rule of law. And Europe can only profit from this opportunity if we have the right competences within a clear digital literacy process. But for that, it is necessary that our enterprises go through this process. They really need to adapt to the new reality, to do things in a different way. And I think this lighthouse of the social economy is the best way. And just one last, really last thing. I here would just to say that gender equality is essential for this transformation, because gender equality is a real transformative skills. And for some studies we did some years ago in social enterprises, especially in the cooperative model, since there are more horizontal businesses model, it's a better place for women to be and to develop their professional career. And having in mind our education results, these are good news for these enterprises that probably will need to have other environments that will help them to escalate in different ways. And that's our role as policymakers, to help these social enterprises to escalate, to work in a net or whatever, in order to fully answer the needs. We have our challenge in a different way. So just to remember, the 2020 Toledo Declaration with the social and solidarity economy was defined as a key agent for an inclusive and sustainable future. So let's keep this word, key agent for an inclusive and sustainable future, is what we need. And I think from the European Parliament, we will work very closely. Patrizia, Toya, also my colleague here, and also Jordi here around. We will work very hard in order to promote this social economy model that I'm sure it will be the best model for our future Europe and for this digitalized and this digital Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we sort of conclude this with two key words: transversal and transformational. We see the need to ensure that this need for digital upskilling is a transversal approach across a multitude of sectors, but one in which the social economy can play a leading role, and that it is also something that's transformational for people, transformational for workers, for the users of services, for all those in our societies. So that gives us a really good springboard into our future discussions on this topic of digitalization and inclusion. We must come to an end now. We have just gone slightly over time. A huge thank you to all of our speakers today. We have had such a richness of contributions that it is hard to draw many conclusions right at this moment, but I'm sure that we will go back over everything that's been said and identify some ways forward. I think we are particularly welcoming of the very strong support there is for the social economy on a policy level, both within the European Parliament and with the European Commission. And we hope that that will be echoed in how we see action plans developed and recommendations and work at national level, at local and regional levels as well. A huge thank you to our interpreters today, who have kept us going and ensured that we have a transversal understanding of what's been said. And we thank you for your participation in this meeting. Thank you for all the great comments that have been coming in. There's a lot of great ideas. Please do take advantage of the links that have been posted in there of resources. And we will just finish at that point now. I invite the speakers, if they wish, to wave goodbye to everybody and maybe unmute yourself and say goodbye, so that we have some human elements in our meeting today as well. And I think then we will close this meeting. Thank you very much. A huge thank you to the Secretariat of Social Economy Europe, as well to Victor and Nicolas, who have kept everything running behind the scenes today and made for a very smooth and very engaging event. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day.